Now we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty of what Indians are all about.
I still say we Indian people are believers in the truth. This is the way of life that was given to your people. You're born an Indian, you're going to die an Indian. Indianness is a good life. You're facing an Indian this afternoon.
Good Saturday afternoon out there, everyone, and welcome to your number one source for Native American television news. It's Native News Today. I'm your host, Jason Salzman, and I want to welcome you all to this great episode we have planned for you. Thank you for being with us right here on Tulsa CW 1219. We've got a fantastic episode lined up for you today. I'm going to have a visit with the Native American liaison to the governor of Oklahoma, Miss Jackie Hensley, and some representatives from Oklahoma DHS Department about a recent executive order from the governor's office concerning communication between the tribes and DHS. We'll have that full interview for you here on the program, as well as a very special, moving, emotional day at the Muskogee Creek Nation this last week as our code talkers. We got two Muskogee Creek Nation code talkers, but a congressional gold medal that was awarded back in November, brought back to the Muskogee Creek Nation. They had a little reception for him over the executive office. Big day. All that, plus a special guest later on in the program. We've got it all for you here today on Native News. Thanks for being with us. We're going to take our first break.
Momesh Harishungigo Imongin Hobidagi Ani Omaga Bomaha Hoye Imongin Oma Bonchomegigosh. For more information about Muskogee language preservation, please call us at 918-732-7724.
The Muskogee language has always been a part of my life, and so I grew up speaking the language, and I've used it throughout my life. I found that people were interested in learning the language and wanting to revitalize it. The language immersion method of teaching is one that I'm comfortable with. It's a way of reconnecting with our histories and our cultures, and to give this gift or pass this gift on to our children. Mado, Hadam Chihijahlis.
And welcome back to the program. Thanks for being with us. Our first story of the day takes us to the state capitol building in Oklahoma, actually the office of the governor, Miss Mary Fallon. She has an American Indian liaison to her office. That is Jackie Hensley. You know, a lot of you folks out there know before there was a committee structure when it came to Native American issues with the governor. She has assigned that to just one person, and that person streamlines the tribal needs, concerns to the governor on a weekly basis. And I was able to go and visit with Jackie and some ladies from the Department of Human Services here in Oklahoma about an executive order back in November that the governor issued, and there was a story on it in the Oklahoman in December about easing communication problems between tribal agencies dealing with children, families, things like that, and the Oklahoma Department of Human Services. So concerning that article, wanted to go directly to the source, talk with Jackie, talk with DHS, and that's why we're up at the Capitol on this day. Ms. Hensley, thanks for being with us today. You know, it's great to have you on the program. We haven't had a chance to have you on before, so very good to be in here in the governor's office today to talk about some things.
I'm glad to have you come.
You bet. The first thing is, the executive order back in November, obviously from your office, dealing with that and handling press with it as it came out, just easing miscommunication between tribal agencies, state agencies such as DHS, and just as in your stead as the liaison, talk about kind of the need for that, and if you all saw instances starting to kind of pile up where there was miscommunication.
Well, it all started with the MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding, that was signed. The very first time it was signed was in 1994, and at that time I was a Bureau of Indian Affairs criminal investigator for child abuse. And the purpose of that MOU is for all of the state, the tribal, the federal agencies to work together to identify child abuse and investigate child abuse in an Indian country. And when I was a BIA investigator, I it worked well. I would get a call. I would go out with DHS worker and the Indian Child Welfare worker, because a lot of times you didn't know where the abuse occurred. You didn't know if the child was really an Indian child, and you just got that call. So having all three of us go out there, we kind of had all bases covered. So I left BIA, went on to other things. So when I got appointed to this position, you know, one of the things I was looking at was, where are the problem areas in Indian country that I need to tackle first? I know there are fires. I need to do that first before what I envision happening in this position happens. And so one of the things somebody brought up was, well, the MOU, that's not really, sometimes it's a hit or miss, or there's good places, there are good areas in Oklahoma where that is really working, and then there's some places where it's not.
Sure.
So I looked at that, and there were. I mean, and I think part of the reason why there's areas it's not working is because since that time, there have been people that have left agencies, both Indian Child Welfare as well as DHS, and they're not as educated on the issue. And so, you know, talking to all of the entities, both Indian Child Welfare workers and DHS, we realized that needs to be put back up on the forefront
Right now.
to say, okay, we need to do this. So that I sat weekly with the governor, just her and I, on different issues. And this was one of my major concerns with her. So I sat down and spoke to her, and she said, okay, let's do an executive order. That way, all of the people that are involved will understand that this is a priority for our office. And I said, that's great. So that's when we had the tribal leaders come, and they were very supportive, and they are doing the same thing in their tribes with their tribal executive orders or something equal to that. And we're going to work together and try to fix the things that are not necessarily broken, just not working properly.
Right, and we went a couple of years now from the structure of a committee to more to a liaison in your position. And have you guys in that time seen sort of a streamlined effect as far as able to communicate those things to the governor a little bit better, where you don't have to jump over so many hurdles just to get a message out?
Yes, I think that my position is different than the Indian Affairs Commission, and first of all, I want to say the Indian Affairs Commission was great. Barbara Warner, the head of that commission, was great when I first came on to help me, you know, to give me the ins and outs, and she's a wonderful person, phenomenal knowledge in her brain. But I think it's different in that I am coming from the governor's office. So I meet literally weekly with Governor Fallin by myself and talk to her about different issues. And I also can give her kind of insight on what things, why tribes say do some things that she might not understand, and I can give her some tribal and cultural insight that she might not have had previously. I also meet with her with the other senior staff members weekly, so I probably see Governor Fallin on the bi-weekly basis. And so and of course, if there is something that comes up in between our meetings, I'm there to say, hey, I need to talk to you. This is going on.
Let's take a quick break real quick. We'll go to a commercial, come back. We'll have the rest of that interview.
Looking for your next 18-hole adventure? Then take a look at Fountainhead Creek Golf Club. Nestled in the beautiful confines of Lake Eufaula State Park, large sloping greens and well-placed bunkers characterize the Muskogee Creek Nation's Floyd Farley designed course and offers a fine test of skill for any golfer. Stay up on all the latest gear and equipment with a visit to our pro shop. Have lunch at the turn at the Clubhouse Grill. We're waiting to accommodate you at Fountainhead Creek. So give us a call at 918-689-3209 or visit fountainheadgolf.com to book your next round. Fountainhead Creek Golf Club, close to home, far from ordinary.
And anytime with government-to-government relations, it's a total 50-50. I think this side needs to know exactly what the state of Oklahoma can do and our tasks to do, and this side needs to know exactly what the tribe's rights are and things like that. So there's this cross-education that goes on, and just speaking from your point of view, meeting with the governor weekly, it seems like communication and even getting together for sitting across the table has really increased a lot in just the last couple years. And I think you've seen that with the tribes growing, becoming more of a state player as far as economically. And you look at that dynamic and you say that, you know, governor's maybe starting to get it a little bit better than she did before, not saying that she didn't get it, but saying that she's starting to learn from these tribes as they're starting to learn from the state. I know you got to be seeing that too.
Yes, I think I have to say, one of my annual report just recently came out last week. And in that, I think that one of the major issues and things that have benefited the communication between the governor and the tribes is the meetings that we've had with the governor and the tribal leaders. And we are going to continue to do that twice a year. The first one was in June of this past year, and then we had one in November. And it's just the governor and myself, and then the tribal leaders, or if they have somebody in the tribe that the tribal leader can't come. But we sit down and we communicate. We have a conversation. It's not that the governor comes and speaks and everybody just, you know, she sits down and says, okay, what is going on? What is a problem area that you have? And she sits there and takes notes the whole time. So and everybody talks, and I think that dialogue has, it's just worked wonders in getting a stronger relationship between the state and the tribes.
Yeah, because those tribal leaders in that setting feel like they can just open up about the things that, you know, to the direct head of state of the state of Oklahoma.
Yes.
That where, you know, they might have had to relay it before. I think that sets a precedent for things like the order are trying to get done, which is resolve communication between agencies too. It's sort of a trickle-down effect.
Yes.
With working in your position with DHS and in a, you know, with the state of Oklahoma and then with the tribes, it's not like that everywhere as it is in the state of Oklahoma, where you have these unique opportunities to work with sovereign nations within a sovereign state.
I think one of the unique opportunities we have in Oklahoma is working with so many different tribes. And then the other thing would be so many children that we have in DHS custody are in the Indian Child Welfare Act applies. The most recent percentage we looked at actually today is nearly 36% of the children who are in the custody of DHS have the possibility of being that Indian Child Welfare Act could apply. So having an opportunity to work with tribes who bring us, share with us their expertise, their knowledge, their services, their input into case planning for specific children is certainly valuable. You have more players at the table, which is a good thing. To make sure that we're really making the best decision, you know, for that particular child. Certainly presents challenges when you have more players at the table because you're trying to coordinate and make sure everyone knows what everyone knows. So making sure that people are informed about the child's situation and the family's situation and what services might need to be offered, and just making sure that people are informed about placement decisions and placement recommendations, and even all the way to reunification and adoption is a challenge to make sure that we're keeping people informed. Both on the Indian Child Welfare side and on the DHS side, we have a lot of staff turnover, and so there are more opportunities for cases to fall through the cracks and to miscommunicate perhaps. So one thing that the executive order really highlights for us at DHS is that it's really a priority that we improve our communication and that we improve our collaboration and coordination, and there are lots of priorities in child welfare, but the executive order really stood out to us as this is one of the state's biggest priorities, to make sure that we get it right for the children who are Native American, which is a large percentage of the children in care. So certainly a great opportunity.
Okay, I want to thank Ms. Hensley there, Ms. Smith, Department of Human Services, Governor's Office, and also Rita Hart. You'll see her part next week. We'll finish up that interview. They actually have, Oklahoma DHS actually has a staff member Native American staff member that deals with the tribes as well. So they have that line of communication as well, really trying hard there to ease those communication problems and really make things a lot easier between the tribes and that state agency. So that's something to keep an eye on. Another thing to keep an eye on, our next story here, very, very special. We were over at the executive offices last week as Second Chief Roger Barnett. You know, Second Chief in November went to a congressional hearing in the capital city of Washington, D.C. For a gold medal ceremony, a congressional gold medal honoring, finally, after many, many years, honoring the code talkers, Native American code talkers of every tribes. And there was, I think, 33 different tribes represented, 2 of our own Muskogee Creek Nation code talkers. Didn't even know about them. Army had to tell us, just the selfless Muskogee way. But this is a great story here. Second Chief brought that gold medal back. Will be on display in the Veterans Affairs office. And they had a little ceremony over at his office. We were glad to be there, take part in it, honoring our veterans with this congressional gold medal. It was a proud and emotional day at the Muskogee Creek Nation executive offices last week as Muskogee veterans from all branches and conflicts gathered for a special ceremony held by Second Chief Roger Barnett.
We're having a ceremony for me to turn over the gold medal awarded to the Muskogee Creek Nation for the code talkers that we had during World War II.
The ceremony follows a congressional event that was held in November. Recognition brought on by the hard work of Oklahoma legislators.
Congressman Bourne at the time initiated it. They followed through with it. There was 33 tribes in attendance at the time to be recognized and to receive the medals. We had 2 identified citizens at the time that were a part of the code talkers for the Muskogee Creek Nation.
Principal Chief George Tiger recalls the impact our native languages had abroad and at home during wartime.
You know, I think people forget that there's almost 500 plus languages that are spoken, in this country. The Navajo certainly got a lot of the pub on it, if you will. But I can remember my dad sharing with me a story during World War II that German intelligence and Japanese intelligence was in this country picking up, regardless of what tribe they were, trying to break codes of the other languages.
Chief Tiger also discussed how pleased he was to have the nation represented by the Second Chief at the Capitol.
To be able to have someone represent us at the event back in November in Congress, that Second Chief went, and I just thought he'd be ideal. He's a veteran, and he came back with a very emotional report about how it was probably one of the highlights of his life and being able to be part of that. And then to bring home the medals so they can display at our facility here, it just says a lot about who we are. I always say, adversity has always strengthened us, and I think this is part of that as Muskogee Creek people.
Major Ken Davis, who heads the tribe's Veterans Affairs office, talked about the selfless nature of Muskogee veterans and how his office might never have known about our Creek code talkers had it not been for the Army.
It's interesting. It's the Department of the Army that told us about our code talkers. Typical Muskogee, they knew who they were all these years. They knew they were code talkers, but very little word ever got out about Mr. Thomas McIntosh and Mr. Leslie Richards. Again, typical Muskogee, matters are best accomplished quietly. So it was the Department of the Army that contacted us on who our code talkers were from our tribe. We started the research, digging in deep as we could. Their records were burned up in 1973 in the fire of St. Louis. But once we got the information we could, we identified how they were identified as code talkers. It was absolutely amazing. And then the United States government steps in and recognizes all code talkers from World War II. Yeah, it was quite an honor.
Second Chief Barnett echoed the thoughts of Major Davis, recognizing the humble aspects of the Muskogee way.
For the most part, we're humble people. We accept what we get and go about our business. But for the most part, for them to be recognized in the tribes was a great day for the 33 tribes at the time.
Today it's such an honor to be here to show our support and just thank not only Second Chief Barnett for doing that for us and going and receiving these medals, but now being able to display them in the Veterans Museum. Being one of the younger veterans in the tribe, and I'm not so young anymore, but amongst my all the elders that are out to support all the veterans here, I mean, it's such an honor that the actual Congress dedicated these medals to the code talkers. That's a huge part of our history.
For Second Chief Barnett, a 10th Mountain Division veteran of the U.S. Army himself, it's still hard to describe his feelings being there for the congressional ceremony back in November.
It's hard to imagine. Just the setting at the time was overwhelming for me to look around the room and see the significant building we were in, the attendance of the other tribal leaders, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, other representatives was just an overwhelming feeling in itself. It was probably one of the most significant times in my life.
And we're winding down this week's episode of Native News Today as we get to the end. As the great Vanessa Williams once sang, you always save the best for last. Brought in Mr. Justin Giles here, Assistant Director of the Museum and Cultural Center here in Muskogee Creek Nation. Justin, thanks for being with us as always. Love having you on the program. You've got a very, very big weekend coming up. I know you guys are so excited about it. Trip to Nicaragua.
Yes, sir. So we're super excited for this. We are just about ready to get out of here and go. Heading down to the capital city of Nicaragua, which is Managua. This is funded through and sponsored by the U.S. State Department and specifically the U.S. Embassy in Nicaragua. We are representing the 566 federally recognized tribes of the United States. We are the 4th largest tribe in the country, so it's quite an honor that we were looked at and sought after to go down and represent, again, the indigenous peoples of the United States, to go down and work with and meet and greet and really just visit with all the indigenous leaders down there in Nicaragua and help open up a cultural center down in the capital city of Managua. The U.S. Embassy has funded this, and really what this cultural center is about, it's all youth-driven, education-driven type of endeavors down there. They have a lot of the same social ills that we experience here. Again, we're talking about somewhat of a lower socioeconomic type of country, so the same sort of things with domestic violence, domestic abuse, substance abuse, culture loss, language loss, all those sort of things. And that's what this cultural center that they're opening down there is meant to foster, this sort of opening up and kind of invigorating the culture down there. There's going to be a lot of other folks from Central and South America from these binational centers. There's a whole network and chain down there, which is all about fostering, again, education through these arts and through these programs, theaters, sports, all that sort of thing. Have some of the U.S. Embassy representatives going to be down there, and it's going to be really cool because the embassies, when those ambassadorial folks are there, they're essentially representing President Obama, and we have to address them as such and everything. So
that's great.
We're there.
You guys have a great crew going from here too, Muskogee Creek Nation, yourself. Tell us a little bit about who else is going and your excitement, because those people are going to be representing us too.
Yes, it was really meeting with Chief Tiger, and once this got presented to us, we were like, all right, we need a certain delegation to go down there to represent us well. And automatically, what this binational center, this cultural center down there is to meet a lot of the indigenous leaders down there. So I was already thinking about our church leaders, our ceremonial ground leaders, and I approached Miko Babayarji. He's a ceremonial leader from the Alabama grounds, and he thought about it, and about 4 days later, he said, sure, I would like to do this. And really, because he's all about, again, this effort of youth-driven education and how we reclaim our culture and perpetuate culture. So Miko Yarja will be going with us. His wife, Leisha Yarja, will be going. She's also a child development officer here with Creek Nation. William Lowe is going. He's a director of our tourism department. They're really excited to meet and talk about cultural tourism in Central and South America, ecotourism. And then my wife is going as a private citizen, taking time off. She actually booked her flight on her own. She'll be going down there, but of course, who she is, she'll be representing our cabinet and of course our tribal government there with what she does.
You got it. And as I know, Shara, within that tie-in, as you said, they have some of the same social ills down there. I know she has a passion for that here. I know she'll be, coordinating with them and talking with them about the challenges that they face as well. Justin, what I think is unique to note here is in the international community, no matter what people may have thoughts about Americans, they always have a warm disposition for Native Americans.
Certainly.
In the international community. I know you guys are looking forward to a warm welcome from these people, because we're almost seen as something to marvel at, something, we really want to know more about them, and it's a thirst for knowledge that these people have. That's got to feel great as a nation to go down and be able to share ourselves.
It is, and that, again, that's in the spirit of this cultural sharing. And certainly we have I would say our southern relatives, our indigenous relatives down there, and that's same sort of the influence that we got from them was hey, we would like to have the U.S. Embassy here, of course, because they've helped fund the place, but also we would like to see some of the indigenous people up there so we can go and do our cultural sharing, see what we have in common, and see what we can do differently or what they might be doing differently, we can bring back here. And again, it's fostering our collaborative effort here through a cultural sharing means on what we can learn from each other. And yes, very much so. When you learn about the Americas, and I'm talking about the whole Western Hemisphere,
Absolutely.
the indigenous peoples are the first to be talked about and first to be representative in this endeavor here right now. We are the people that are really the red carpets there, and this is all for the indigenous folks in this whole culture sharing.
And certainly all the early exploration, that pipeline coming up right through indigenous peoples from Central America, we all have a little bit of a connection. So
Definitely.
it's going to be neat for you guys to go down there and share in that. So excited about it. As I said, international community, U.S. ambassador, a lot of people and a lot of different governments getting together. That's what I think is really neat here. You got Nicaragua, Muskogee Creek Nation, U.S. government, all coming together. Brazil, Argentina. I mean,
going all
you
down
could
the
go
list.
on and on. It's almost like a model UN, really. But we look at that, and also just real quickly, I don't want to talk about everything going on abroad without talking about what we got right here. You guys got some big things coming up. Working with Smithsonian as well, coming
Yes.
down, talking about some of our traditional things here at the Muskogee Creek Nation.
Yes, indeed. So the Smithsonian has been involved for a number of years developing a treaties exhibit. And what they are looking at is, of course, the First Nations that were in this treaty-making process. And we always go back to the history in the U.S. government and even with the British and the Spanish and everybody else. But majorly it was the Haudenosaunee, the Iroquois folks, and in the southeast, the Muskogee Nation. So we have a great section in the treaties exhibit, and they're coming here to, again, get the word from the people here to let them know exactly our oral history, what we may have in our written history as far as this treaty-making process, and what this whole issue of what treaties came about for, why were they done, and what this government-to-government relation really means. And again, all that treaty-making inevitably brought us to Oklahoma with the whole removal process and everything. So we want to make sure that we have the true voice from the people in that exhibit and make sure we're represented well without any questions asked.
And I think they're doing it the right way. They're coming to the source. You know, they're talking to you and John. They're wanting to see what we can help them with here as far as video-wise, archive footage, things like that. They're really doing it first class. And what else would you expect from the Smithsonian?
My
They always
former
do a good
employer
job.
knows how to do that. We were there for a number of years. So
Exactly.
now I'm on
They
the
do a
other
great
side of the
job.
fence and helping out.
Now you get to wear both hats.
Exactly.
It's really fun for you. Justin, safe travels for you all.
Yes,
I
sir.
know
Mado.
that anytime you go that far away, everybody around here keep you guys in their thoughts and throughout the weekend. These folks are going to be doing some great things representing this great sovereign Muskogee Creek Nation in another country. So always nice to be able to go and share that and to be able to tell our story, hear their story, and just have fellowship with other nations. It's always a great thing. So Justin, thanks for being with us this week. And as we sail off into another week for Native News Today, I want to thank you all for being with us. So great to be at the Code Talkers Remembrance this week. Also visiting with our Native American liaison to the governor, Jackie Hensley, in Oklahoma City. All those things making for a great episode this week, as well as Justin graciously stopping in to visit with us. Folks, if you can't catch us here on Tulsa CW 1219, you can always catch us online. Go to the Creek Nation homepage, they can help you out with that. Our YouTube channel, Facebook, Native News Today, Twitter, Native News Guys. Check us out. See what we're doing throughout the week. Everybody out there, we'll see you next Saturday. Take care, God bless, and we'll be seeing you soon.
Mado.
All right.